Good morning, everybody. This is Bradley with Gadget, and today is June 4th at 7:30 a.m. This is training webinar week number 13. Today, we're not really going to have a lot of training other than just some Q&A. If you guys have some of that, we're going to run over the case study. As you guys probably know, the updates are in progress right now. The server's being migrated or updated, so there's not a whole lot to go over just yet. We've been anxiously awaiting that for several weeks now, and they are close. They are real close. So today, like I said, we're not going to have a lot of training stuff unless you guys just have questions. We're just going to run through the case study stuff that I had set up and then move on so we can keep progressing until we get these new updates. So I'm actually going to take a look at the events page and see if there's any existing questions. It looks like nobody's even here yet. So, and that's okay too. Like I said, I'm pretty sure everybody understands that we've been waiting for these updates, and they're in progress as we speak. So hopefully we'll have those back, access to everything within the next couple days, even today maybe. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and take the screen. We're just going to run through these slides. Just an update on the case study. And I'll come back and check on questions again. And I'll talk a little bit about some of my experiences with these sites and landing a big client actually this week. So, and I'll talk a little bit about that, hopefully encourage some of you guys. But we'll start off with just the case study again. What we're going to cover today, we've covered this every week now. This week's week 6. And so this is just an ongoing case study. This one is actually performing fairly poorly, a lot less than I had hoped or expected. But that happens from time to time. So it's not, it's not a big deal. It just means that when we start the local SEO case study, that'll hopefully be a bit more exciting than this one. So. And in Q&A, obviously. The domain extensions, guys, remember, just recap, because some people might be watching this for the first time. I purchased 8 domains with the same domain name, just different extensions. Then I built out 8 subdomains, a subdomain for each. It was the same subdomain name. Just again, the only thing different is the extension. Then I built out 8 sites using the same content. The only thing I did was slightly change the target keyword, and what I mean by that is the SEO title or the content title. That's typically how I build these big sites, is I target in one main focus keyword per site, and then there's tags and related keywords and such in the content, but I use the SEO or the content title as the main target keyword for each site, and that's how I've had success with building these sites. Now when we get into the local stuff, we're going to be targeting multiple keywords within the same site. And so we'll get into that once the new updates are available. I've just been waiting for that so that I didn't start the training series and then have to redo everything. I didn't want to have to do it twice. I don't have time to do rework for no reason. So that's why we've been waiting. I know there's been some whining in the Facebook group about wanting to see that now, but personally, I'm not. I don't have the time to do it now and then have to do it again because the interface changes. So we're waiting, but as soon as it's available, we'll do that. So we're going to run through these. Right now, you're seeing 4 weeks of results. Again, this is week number 6. And so this is down in the bottom right corner. Read it like you're reading a book. So left to right, top to bottom. This was 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, today. Okay. Or a week ago, I guess I should say, and today, right? So 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, today. All right. And so some of these are still indexing very, very slow. I did set up a crowdsearch.me, not for this one, but I'll talk about that in a minute. A crowdsearch.me, which is Dan Anton's product. I know we've talked about that briefly in these webinars, and that's also a feature that may be available within the ATM. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Dan Anton, who's the creator and developer of Backlinks Indexer, which is integrated with the ATM and Lead Gadget sites now. He also has crowdsearch.me, which is his basically micro task workers crowdsourcing of searches and clicks. So they'll go to organic search for keywords or whatever you tell it to search for, locate your property, and then click on it and then land on your site. And then they'll do some internal browsing as well, like click on other pages on the site or whatever you tell it to do, so that you can get some traffic coming into your site, which is a positive ranking signal. In fact, it's probably a measure of user engagement, right? And that's more important. It's weighted heavier now than it ever has been, even more so than backlinks. It's important for ranking. So because of some of these sites taking so long to index, which again, I'm actually surprised that they're not doing any better. I set up I set up one crowdsearch.me test. In fact, Kevin Big Happy Smith asked about it the same day I was setting up, which I thought was coincidental, for how to use crowdsearch with these sites. And so I set up one test that day. That was on the 1st. So that was 3 days ago. And then today, this morning, as I was grabbing these screenshots from Webmaster Tools for you guys for this presentation, I went ahead and set up 2 more on 2 of the other sites that are performing very poorly. And I'll talk about the numbers briefly on what type of searches I'm doing. And again, these are tests. I've got notes where I'm tracking this, how many pages were indexed when I started, how many searches per month I'm setting it for, what's the dwell time. In other words, when the microtask workers click search, then find your site, then click on it, how long do they stay on the site? And then is there random or internal browsing on? And I've got notes for all of that. I'm not going to show you the exact notes yet because I've got my website names and stuff in there now, but I'll clean them up after about a week. So maybe next week we'll go over that a little bit so that you guys can see the results that it has shown within a week. And I don't expect a whole lot of movement in a week, but we should see. I suspect that by with the CrowdSearch app, I've been using it since November of last year, and with some brand new websites, traditional websites, not the ATM sites, but with some brand new websites, I was able to use the CrowdSearch traffic to jumpstart the site to where it got more exposure in the search engines, and then natural traffic took off from there. And I had some really, really good results with it. And that's why, I mean, I've been using it for, many, many months now, but I'm hoping to get the same kind of results with these sites. And we'll walk through that here in just a minute, like how I set that up for those of you that do have access to that application currently. And if you don't have access to it, I can possibly, I better hold off on that. You should be able to get access through Lead Gadget here shortly, because I think that's going to be integrated. Brian was talking about it. So moving on. That website, this one from 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago today, you can see that it's indexing very, very slowly. Okay. Still going up in clicks, so we're 6 clicks up from last week. But it's still indexing very slow. And that's pretty much what you're going to see throughout the rest of these additional 7 sites beyond here. There is one site that's really starting to do well, and I'll show you that in here in a minute. That's this one, actually, .info. You can see that this one, actually, the index pages isn't much more than it was last week. It's about, 12 pages more or 12 posts more got indexed. But if you take a look at the clicks on this one and the impressions, you can see this huge spike all of a sudden. And in fact, it's funny because I have another site set up on this domain extension. It's on another subdomain, and that was the one that I had set up for the test with crowdsearch.me. And so I just assumed automatically that was because of the crowdsearch traffic that I'm sending to it. But actually it's not, because I'm doing it on another subdomain for this site. So I had to go back and just double check. And so this is actually natural right here. This has nothing to do with CrowdSearch. But you can see it only about a 12 post difference, but you can see the impressions went way up, and the total clicks more than doubled. Okay, so that's looking promising. Again, it's too early to tell, but if that's the trend up for this one site, then this may end up being the most successful of the 8. Okay. And again, like I said, I think this particular batch of sites is performing a lot lower than I'm used to. Okay. So it could have been the content or something. I'm not sure why, or just the keyword. It might just be the keyword's just a crappy keyword to target for these kind of sites. .biz, this one's doing really poor. It's going up like 1 post per week. So it'll only take, 52,000 weeks to get indexed, if that's the case. .us, this one's gone up a little bit, not bad. Clicks are up almost double. So it's, it's climbing slowly. A lot of these sites, guys, like I said, I'm just going to keep tracking them every week anyways. Some of them that end up just being really poor, another 4 or 5, 6 weeks from now, if they're still like really, really low, I'll just go ahead and delete them, because it'll save, free up some space on my server for some additional sites. But the ones that are still improving, fairly good, or the click rates are going up and that sort of stuff, then those are the ones I'll keep. And possibly do something else, like, maybe point some backlinks at it or something like that. We're going to see if the CrowdSearch stuff helps to index them a little bit more. Okay, .co, this one's doing really poorly as well. In fact, this one actually lost a few pages, only 4, but that's the first time I've seen it do that. .org. This one's up just a little bit, not very much, so not very good. This one is up just a hair, about 11 posts, and this one's only up a couple posts as well. So you can see that that's pretty much the entire case study, other than the .info one, was doing, the same. It's crawling at a snail's pace, just like it had been for the last, this makes 6 weeks now, guys. So for the previous 5 weeks. So I'm really surprised. Lastly, we've got, I'm using different content on, on another subdomain, targeting a different keyword. And this one's doing pretty well for, this site's actually, this is only week 3 or 4. I'd have to look, but I think this is week 4. But this one's doing better. It's not indexing all that fast, but the clicks are up, 76 clicks for only about a third of the site being indexed. That's not bad for 30 days. That's roughly 2.5 clicks per day. So that's not bad. As it continues to index more. And what's interesting is, like I said, it's the same domain. It's just a different extension, or I'm sorry, a different subdomain, different content, targeting a different keyword, but it's the same. It's in the same niche. It's just it's a sub niche, like a separate sub niche, and it's doing better. Okay, it was climbing pretty quick there for a couple of weeks, and then it slowed down a little bit. So I'm actually set up one of my tests for crowd search on this domain as well, so that I can see if I can keep it moving up as quick as it was originally. Keep the momentum going. Okay, sometimes just a little bit of push helps. So that's really it, guys. Nothing special, nothing real exciting since the last week. I've been, like I said, I've been really off, put on hold until the updates are done. So I don't really have any additional training for you or anything other than that. Did want to give you guys an update on that, and then let's see if I can find the screen. I'll see if there's any questions. Nope, must be a slow morning. Only see 2 people who RSVP'd, Barry and Kyle. What's up, guys? If you guys have any questions about anything, go ahead and post them. If not, we're going to wrap it up. I know we're supposed to have an hour a week, but honestly, I don't really have a lot to talk about because of the updates, and I don't want to sit here and just talk blindly for an hour if I don't have to. I've got other things I could be doing, as I'm sure you guys do as well. So let's see. There is something else that I wanted to talk about. I might have to pause the screen for a minute, and let me do that, and I'll take a screenshot of something, and then we'll talk about that briefly so we can give you guys some time to ask questions if you'd like. But there's been some questions about how I use these sites for local stuff. So thus far, without actually building local sites, how do I use these lead gadget sites for local stuff? And then I'll talk about how I'm just landed a pretty good deal with a company based on these sites. So I'm going to go open up something, take a screenshot, and then show you guys that, and we'll kind of walk through that real quick so you guys can get an understanding of what I'm doing and how these sites can be, like, even if I've said this before, even if all I used these sites for was for research or for data, the amount of data that it provides, it's worth it, in my opinion, because it's amazing how much data you can pull back from these sites. So give me 1 second while I take a screenshot of this. Okay. Now, this is only a partial screenshot because it's not going to show all 50 states. But I'm going to show you guys what I do. Let me share this so I can drop the link on the page. You guys can take a look at it yourself in another tab. Just a moment. Okay. All right, I'm dropping this link on. I'll go ahead and grab the screen so you don't got to look at me. 1 moment. All right, here we go. I'm going to drop the link on the page if you guys want to take a look at that. And I'll open this up in another tab. This is from analytics, okay? So I told you guys I like to use analytics to connect, as well as Webmaster Tools. And I do it for the data purposes. And again, I know that some people don't like to. That's fine. Don't do it then. But I do it because it's free. It works well. It gives me the information that Google is seeing, at least partially what Google's seeing. So I like to use that data. And that's just what I do. So here's one of my sites that was kind of like a runaway success, guys. This is what, and I've talked about this before, but this was a site that I put together. I really kind of threw it together very quickly and slapped it up to test a particular niche. In fact, this is the one that gave me the inspiration to set up the case study in a different sub niche of the parent niche. In other words, there is a broad niche here that I'm going after, but there are several sub niches within that niche, right? And so I'm going after the sub niches because I think the other one's just too broad to go after. There's too much competition, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I had thrown this site together. Now it's been about 13 or 14 weeks ago now. So probably close, it's been about 3.5 months ago that I put this site up. And it was just a test because this is an industry that I don't have a lot of experience in this industry. I did on a very, very local level, like right in my backyard with one company, but that's it. So anyways, point is that I targeted one very specific sub niche within this niche, and I threw up this site. And lo and behold, 12 weeks later, this site is now getting over 1,800 clicks a month. It's a national site, but we're talking, we're getting 60 clicks per day on this site, and I haven't monetized it because it was just a test. And so anyways, when we set up the case study, guys, which is now 6 weeks in, today makes 6 weeks. This was targeting another sub niche within that overall industry. Okay. So this other sub niche isn't performing near as well, but it's still only been 6 weeks. This site really didn't start performing well until about 8 weeks in. So I'm hoping that some of those other sites that we just looked at that are performing poorly will start to catch up. Maybe not. Again, maybe that particular sub niche is just it's not going to perform well with these types of sites. That may be the case. We're going to find out over the next few weeks, right? But that said, this one site is getting, like I said, about 60 clicks per day, 1,800 clicks per month. To me, that's a lot. And so I went into, I met with or had a phone conversation with a buyer of these leads, somebody that owns a company that would be interested in the leads that this can produce. And I talked with them just on Tuesday, I guess it was, and so a couple days ago. And I showed them this data because they're only in they're able to process in 3 states right now. They can process in more, but they've just got to get set up properly. So in the meantime, I showed them this data and I said, look, I broke it down by state and showing them the kind of clicks that I'm getting. This is for the last 30 days. And you can see that this is the kind of traffic for Texas, California. These are the clicks for Florida. So they're in Florida and Tennessee and Georgia, and they can get licensed in a couple other places to be able to process leads and stuff like that. And my point is that using these sites, I'm able to determine, hey, look, for example, I know that Florida is doing doing pretty well, and this is a national site, guys, that I built. So if I had the green light to go ahead and work, produce more leads for Florida, then I could go in and build a separate site, right? That's a state-based site, a statewide site, which we're going to talk about when we get into the local site build, because one of the local site builds I'm going to build is going to be specifically for a state build. The other one's going to be like more of a regional build, which would be more like a traditional local site, right? So I could go in and target specifically Florida and set up a Florida site statewide build, and then go more granular with the build, like down to county level and then city level. And then somebody even suggested, Bill Marks, I think it was, possibly even street level. I haven't tested that. I don't know how well that will do, but it's interesting. So we may end up testing that. But I was able to show this guy this exact same data that you're seeing here, and then show him Webmaster Tools to show the clicks and the type of search queries that the traffic is coming in on. And he was quite excited. So I ended up landing a deal with them. And it's just on a lead generation deal. So it's $50 per lead. But I've got essentially my work orders to move forward with building out several statewide sites for those 3 states that they're in, targeting multiple sub niches within each state. So I'll probably end up building about 10 sites per sub niche, probably targeting 3 sub niches. So, and then times three states, right? So we're looking at like probably doing about 90 sites over the next 3 months or so for this one particular industry, but at $50 per lead, and it's exclusive. For so that's a good thing for me, in my opinion. So there's an opportunity there to make a lot of money, and if it works well, then we're going to move into some other areas as well, some other states. So I'm just saying that so that you guys can get an understanding of like how we can use these sites. That's one way. I mean, that's just one way that I do it, guys. I'm going to go back in and build out, like I said, additional lead gadget sites for, or with the ATM for the states that are available. But then also once I get more granular with those builds, then I'm going to have data specific to those states. Does that make sense? Like right now, this is still broad data, right? Like, in fact, I could click through on those. Like I can't because it's just a screenshot, but I could click through and get more data from those states. But once I have a statewide build that is specific to that state, I'm going to have even more data to crunch, right? And then I can find like maybe certain counties that are performing better than others. And then what can I do? I can go in and I can build out additional county-wide sites, right? That maybe get down to street level, like what Bill Marks suggested. Or maybe I can go in and build out a more of a traditional site, or maybe I can do some video SEO and rank some YouTube videos as well, or Web2 properties, or whatever. And my point is that that's how I've been using these sites for the most part, other than like growing an email list. I don't do like AdSense stuff. I know there's a lot of people here doing very, very successful with it. It's not something I ever got into. So thus far, I've been growing email lists with my sites, and finding pockets of areas that I can go in and dominate with more traditional stuff. And that's been working well for me, but there's, there's a million ways to skin a cat, guys. And I'm just sharing with you like what I thought was interesting, because it was kind of a successful test in my opinion. And I really did not expect this site to do so well. It was just kind of like a runaway success. It came out of left field. I didn't really plan on it. So anyways, that was it. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Is there any questions coming in? Looks like there's not. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Hopefully next week we'll have a lot more to go over. I think we will. I know Don has been pretty much like a zombie, doing nothing but working his ass off for the last several weeks, man. That's why you guys haven't heard much from him. Me neither, because he's been really, really working hard on this, guys. That's a lot of work, what he's been doing. So leave him alone, let him get it done. And that way we'll all have a hell of a lot more to talk about in the coming week, So I'm going to let you guys go, and I will see you guys next week. Everybody have a good week.